Hey everyone, this is Nakshan, and welcome to the Scatterhorde, where we try to put complicated ideas in a nutshell. Increasing our sense of resilience is becoming more important by the day as we make our way through increasingly challenging environments. But to understand the concept, we must first wrap our heads, hearts, and arms around what it protects us from, which is trauma. The world seems to have finally caught up and realizes the devastating impact of trauma, but it's a term that's often used in a general and inaccurate way. Trauma is not defined by the danger or intensity of a particular event. Rather, it's defined by how we react over time to it. Do long-term effects like depression, anxiety, or panic attacks get in the way of our lives? Do we find it difficult to effectively function without turning to coping mechanisms like drug use or other compulsive behaviors? If the answer to both of these questions is yes, then we were likely traumatized by the event. If no, then while the occurrence may have been scary and painful, it was not traumatizing. Resilience is what protects us from traumatic reactions to threatening situations. It's built upon many protective factors and is hugely important in navigating a sometimes dangerous world. Natural disasters demonstrate nature's devastating force and remind us of the fragility of life. They are an internal part of our environment. Other situations like car accidents or human-on-human violence can also lead to long-term traumatic reactions. But there's a big difference between being injured by an event and grieving our loss and being incapacitated for life by it. But why do some people experience debilitating symptoms while others don't? The answer relates to the protective factors, or lack of protective factors, that are possessed before, during, and after the event. The sum of these protective factors creates the measure of resilience for the individual. For instance, a person may be involved in a horrifying car accident, but protective factors like supportive relationships, stable housing, health insurance, a spiritual belief system, and paid time off from work may protect them from a traumatic reaction. In another situation, that same person who does not have these protective factors might be terribly traumatized by something as small as a fender bender. Possessing protective factors before a threatening event can protect us from experiencing a traumatic reaction. And the introduction of new protective factors after the event can help us heal if we do experience a traumatic reaction. In fact, many people who I greatly admire have gone through a lot of traumas, experienced healing, and often come out stronger, not in spite of the ordeal, but because of it. The memories of the event or events remain, but they no longer define them. Rather, they are just a part of who they are, and sometimes the very source of their wisdom, compassion, and empathy. So what are these protective factors? Number one is family support. As human beings, the most important group in all our lives is our families. Unfortunately, for some people, family can be the cause of the trauma rather than the source of support. If that's the case, what do? You find and connect with people who are like family. People you want to spend Thanksgiving dinner with. People who will lend you $200 to get through the month. People who you'll lend your truck to so they can move. Next is peer support. Everyone needs at least one other person who gets us. This is a person who we can talk to, or even more importantly, who we can be with but don't need to talk to. Calm, comfort, and simpatico can develop over time between people who share lived experiences, and this brings resilience to both parties. The best way to get through tough times is simply to have confidence that we can do it. This results from a sense of competence, which is built on previous successes. But succeeding is only the first step in developing competency. Accepting and internalizing success is the even more important second step. Then it becomes baked in and a part of who we are. School or work. This might be a formal program like a GED or a PhD or getting a certificate to drive a forklift. But more than that, it's developing a lifelong habit of seeing each moment as a learning opportunity, rather than just one more example of how I'm a mess up. If something doesn't go right, resilient people put the experience in the live and learn box, adapt, and move on, recognizing that it's just a part of everyday life. Spirituality. Every resiliency study will tell you that a person with a spiritual belief system is more resilient to challenging life situations. But we have to be as broad as possible with this because spirituality does not just reside in church, mosque, and synagogue. It can also be accessed in things like nature, spending time with elders, or volunteering for a cause. At its most basic, spirituality is just about connecting to something bigger than ourselves. And if we're part of a community with shared spiritual values, we're bound to be more resilient. We live in a world with decreasing natural protective factors like family members in close proximity to each other, neighborhoods filled with lifelong friends and peers, and easy access to nature. Navigating our new environments is becoming more and more challenging. It really demands that we seek out what used to come naturally so we can restore our resilience. This means becoming more intentional with our behaviors, which can be hard, but is absolutely doable and absolutely necessary to thrive in our changing world. I'll see you next time.